Am I audible? Okay. Thanks, Payal, for setting up and shaking a lot of us here. Okay, so over the next 15 minutes, we're going to talk about some of the challenges that we face in software development space and how we're going to solve them and the macro trends. But before we move there, I want to draw your attention to something very, very serious, which is about 78% of software projects fail. If we go by one of the Standish reports that talks about $4 trillion being spent in bringing IT software projects to life just in 2021. And if we put this number there, that's about $3 trillion in wasted spend. That's the amount of money that is being wasted. Now, leaving you here and coming to the top 5 major macro trends. And I'm sure a lot of you would agree with me here that there is no difference between the traditional and digital economies. From a Kiryana wala to a CIO, everyone wants to digitize. And that increases this demand exponentially. And a lot of this is coming especially after pandemic because people are not left with any other option than to move digital. But do we have enough developers to support this ecosystem, to support this demand? And the best part here is that your new buyer is not a technologist. It's someone like me, who doesn't understand tech, but may have an idea that they want to bring to life. CIOs really don't have their way out of this problem. And another very, very common macro trend that we hear about is that 80% of your software applications come from common features, like login. Every app needs it. But still a developer would start writing this code from scratch. Now let's read some of these macro trends along with the report of strategic, of 2023 strategic technology trends from Gartner. They are talking about optimization, scalability, but also in their pioneer segment, they are talking about things like super apps, adaptive AI, and metaverse. On one side, we are talking about something very basic, demand, gap, people not understanding technology, and then here we move on to things like metaverse, super apps. In particular, I want to draw your attention to super apps. But why super apps? By 2027, more than 50% of the global population will be daily active users of multiple super apps. But why is that? On an average, we spend about 3 hours on our phone every day, and this has gone up by 25% after pandemic. A lot of this time is being spent on apps like mobile banking, digital wallets, e-commerce, public transport. I'm sure all of us is contributing to, this 3 hour here. So on a super app, all of these multiple apps that we're talking about, the idea is to bring them on a single platform or bringing these multiple apps onto a single software application. Super apps can also customize your services based on user preferences and needs. But how are they different? So in a traditional ecosystem, which is your traditional applications, you can only use one service or one function in one app, like Twitter, Spotify. And then you have packaged apps, for example, G Suite, Microsoft Suite, where you have PowerPoints, Word, Excel, all coming together as one single suite. And then you have super apps, wherein there are multiple apps that comes together. For example, to some extent, Paytm, right? Paytm, you can do multiple things over Paytm. But so super apps as a concept is still huge. Even Paytm is not covering everything there. And then you have super apps which comes with mini programs where you can also add third-party or third-party integrations or apps within that main app. Now for CIOs, this becomes very, very important because this is your marketplace of services for your end customer. Now if that is what is deriving a need, then you as a CIO, how do you change that within your company? Because this is what's gonna bring consolidation in services. This is what will bring, which will create a better experience for your end user. You're gonna achieve economies of scale, and your users can actually access multifunctional digital ecosystem from single login. Imagine if you could do everything that Twitter does, or and WhatsApp does, Paytm does, or Uber, for example, everything that you achieve from these 4 or 5 apps, that can be done from a single login. That's what super app means. Now, why is this important? Let's look at this from the mobile landscape. We are saying that your new app downloads will only go up by 7%, but your app store spend will increase by 20%. Your daily time spent per user will go up by 22%. Your mobile ad spend will go by 26%, and your venture capital to mobile tech would go up by 28%. That's massive. Now, if you're looking for a solution, who's going to help you? And if you're already starting to thinking that, is there a company that can help you with this? So I'm going to draw your attention to Builder.ai. There's something very interesting that Gartner has to say about us. By the way, I represent Builder.ai. That we have a dramatically different approach, and they've named us in the visionary segment in 2021 Magic Quadrant. And thankfully, numbers are supporting us. So we are one of the companies that has grown to 100 million run rate. We are one of the fastest companies that has grown to 100 million run rate in this time frame. And you have other examples out there. And bring you back to the quadrant, we are named alongside companies like HCL Software and ServiceNow. And we're just 3 to 4 years old in here. So what are we doing differently? We are democratizing a people-heavy process, which is very, very slow, rigid, and weak. And the reason for that is the mismatch between demand and supply. We only have about 45 million developers versus a requirement of about 400 million developers. And that makes your average dev process go to about 46 weeks. So on average, an app takes about 46 weeks to come to life. Now, what are we doing? So with about 3 years of development and 500,000 of hours spent in this space, we made this inverse pyramid wherein anything that takes about 45 weeks in general to be built, we can finish that in about 12 weeks. And, and the idea is that how do you solve this massive problem when someone has an idea and you bring it to life? So our mission is that we should be able to bring the idea, build, and deployment within a day's time. So we want to bring this to, to a time frame of about a day. But how do we do this? You need a lot of automations. So we want to automate everything that is repetitive. For example, if every app needs a login, or if every app needs a payment gateway, we want to help you with the designs that can be automated. We want to help you with code that can be automated, and still leave that, the customization aspect. So on one side, we have 500 plus reusable Lego-like features. We then have a capacity, which is our capacity of vetted experts. And this capacity is about 200,000 developers, designers capacity. And then all of this come together on our assembly line. And this assembly line then helps you bring the code to life. And along with that, all the services that you need to bring your software, to run or to function your software or to skill your software, we also have those services. Because on an average, an app needs about 5 to 6 extra services, within your main app to scale. So what do you get, in the end of all of this? And how are we different? So we have about 0% failure rate. We give you, your apps with fixed prices and accurate deadlines. It's an overly transparent process, and 95% of our projects are delivered on time. This is fully managed, and there's no vendor lock-in, and you own your code. So if I have to summarize this, we are a managed platform for customized apps, and the way we do this is very, very different. We are a combination of what a low-code, no-code platform does, along with your custom software development companies, and that's how we combine this and give you this experience wherein you can bring, any idea to us, and we should be able to deliver. So for all of you who wants to build anything close to a super app or any other app and is in a stage of digitization or has the plan ready for your next year, we have a lovely looking booth in the back, and we have a great team here. You can just come over, and we will be happy to help you with your ideas. Any questions? Either it was too boring or I was too clear. Too clear. I'll take that as a compliment. Okay. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Check.
Software. And apart from that, handling the change request or change management is challenge.
Yeah.
So does we own that code? It is developed by some third-party developer. So can your platform help us in solving or fixing those bugs? Or
Oh, absolutely. So you have to look at a couple of things here, right? One is whether you would want to, one is why are you still facing the issues that you're facing? Obviously, you would always need a change request. That can't be, that's a happy thing. That means you're evolving. But we want to see that what is the code that you're working on right now, and whether it makes sense for you to build a parallel, more customizable and scalable ARP, or you continue with the current one and you build on top of it. So we are right here. We have our experts here. Let's just sit, get deeper into the requirement, and try to solve for it.
okay, thank you.
But this is doable, definitely doable. Yeah. Because we give you code end of the day, so it can be hosted wherever you want.
Hi, this is Mohammed Moinuddin from ThoughtWorks. Well, lovely presentation, first of all, thank you. I'd like to understand a bit more on the problem that you mentioned, right? Especially the dependency on the people and the lack of supply over it. Can you elaborate a bit more in terms of how are you really trying to manage that aspect of it in getting companies to look at accelerating through your offerings? Yeah. A bit more in terms of where you see as opportunities or challenges, probably for us to learn.
Yeah, that's a great question. So now let's just take a step back, and you can't stop people from digitizing, right? That demand will always be there. But you would still have people studying everything else and not just code. So how do you bridge this gap? Because if we continue to grow like this, you're saying you need one person on one idea, and that's not scalable. And every demand is different. So clearly SaaS platforms can't solve for most of it. So what we've done is, but we also realize that a lot of this can be automated, and a lot of this is also repetitive in nature. So we've picked up anything that can be automated on one side, anything that is repetitive on another, into another category, and then something that is purely customized to every customer. And that customization is actually just plus minus 20, 25%, and everything else is easier for you to solve. So that's what we are doing. You know, anything that is automated is already automated for an hours. For example, you know, testing your code, and there's a lot of innovation that is coming on the testing side. Anything that used to take us about weeks in testing, we've tried to bring this down to hours. You know, that's one level of automation that we're working on. Another level of automation where we're working is that every time you go to a software development company and you try to scope out your requirement, that takes weeks. But we have a live platform, and this is all happening real time for you, wherein you come onto the platform, with or without our experts, you can scope out your requirement in an hour's time. So that's another 3 to 4 weeks of solving, you know, that time. And we've simulated what a business analyst in real environment does to our real-time AI onto the platform, wherein your scoping can actually happen on the platform itself and you don't have to go to a real live person. And that's another automation, right? And so here probably we've solved for about 20% of population that is needed in software development space, and then comes that code, which is also repetitive in nature for a lot of apps. So we have the basic code ready on one side, which we call as building block, and then we customize on top of this code so that your basic code is not touched, and you save those errors and bugs and other things, and you only customize on top of this. So that is how we are trying to bring this together. And also, every new customer that comes to us, we are trying to create, it's a manufacturing approach that we've taken, wherein your base is already ready, or let's just take Domino's or any, in fact, we have this tagline, we want to make software development as easy as ordering a pizza. So your base is common for everyone, but everyone needs different toppings. So this topping is what your customization is, and end of the day, what makes it even sweeter is that we give you the code.
Anyone has a question? They can visit your booth, lock them up and give them everything, every information you have. You have a beautiful booth there. And thank you for such a lovely presentation. If you have any questions, please go ahead and ask. She will be available offline right here. Thank you so much, Anju.